Start talking now. Yeah, so Jack, it's nice to have you. Oh my God, it's nice for us to be here today. We saw the phenomenal Brazil dance their way past South Korea yesterday.
Yeah, they were pretty good, weren't they? I mean, we didn't really see Brazil get out of second gear in the group stage. I mean, they obviously lost against Cameroon only about 4 or 5 days ago against South Korea. They were pretty sensational in that first half. And I mean, we also saw Japan as well, another round of 16 knockout for them, and heartbreak again. Did they deserve to go out?
I don't think so, but it's if you don't practice penalties, you pay your price.
They were awful
It
penalties.
was atrocious. Welcome to World Cup Sera Qatar, a podcast produced and presented by sports journalism students live from our TV studios in Preston. I am Dan Gallagher, a third-year sports journalism student.
And I'm Jack Goodwin. In this episode, we'll be reviewing all of the action from the games yesterday and all of the major talking points. We'll also be looking ahead to the final round of fixtures that we've got in the last 16 that are coming up later on today. As usual, we are joined in the studio by our very own sports journalism World Cup pundits. They are
Elliot Thompson. I am a third-year sports journalism student.
Ollie Woolton, also a third-year sports journalism student, probably getting bored of my face by now.
I was going to say, you probably heard them before, they can't get enough of this podcast. Before we get to you guys though, I'd like to introduce everyone to our guest in the studio today, BBC Sports Andy Cryer. Hi Andy, thank you for joining us here in the studio. I imagine it's much nicer weather in Qatar than it's here in Preston. It's absolutely freezing here.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you that it isn't, but I mean it is. Yeah, great to see you guys. Yeah, we haven't had many clouds in the sky for the last 3 weeks, so yeah, sorry about that.
Don't gloat too much. So Andy, you've been out in Qatar for the last few weeks. Can you just tell us about what you are doing over there?
Yeah, sure. So I'm one of the football organisers for the BBC Sport website. We have a team. The website's probably got about 5. We've probably got 5 or 6 people out here. So a lot of my job is just to organise the logistics, who's going to what games, how they get there, all the content, so the features, the live text we do, which sort of pull about 1 million people in at times at peak. We look after all that. And then we're also working with Radio 5 Live and TV, and just making sure we use the most of the talent that we've got available. You know, the pundits and the commentators, and just making sure we make the most of the content, really.
Yeah, and Andy, as you're an England fan, I imagine you've watched all of the games while you've been out there. What do you make of England's performances so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate. I've been to each of the England games so far, and yeah, it's been weird. I mean, it's been job done. They've been pretty perfect, really. But there have been times where you're thinking, is this the old England back? I thought, the USA game was pretty dire, but I guess they did a job. And I think what's been really impressive is they've been so clinical. There've been periods where they haven't been great, but then suddenly 2 chances, 2 goals, and it's kind of game over. I felt that against Senegal. It looked a bit worrying for about half an hour, and then the moment England scored, you felt this is it. I guess the tests are really still to come.
And do you think they have what it takes to beat France, and what's the key to stopping them?
Do they have what it takes to beat France? I mean, France are the favourites, aren't they? The key to stopping them is sitting on Kylian Mbappe and hoping he doesn't score. I mean, personally, I think France will win. I'd love to say they wouldn't, but yeah, I just don't see how we stop Kylian Mbappe. He's, I guess put Kyle Walker on him and hope he's fit enough to run after him.
And what's the atmosphere been like for the England games and the World Cup in general out
there? It's an interesting one. That it's been better than I expected. Obviously, there are lots of questions. There are lots of questions coming out here. I've been to 2 or 3 Argentina games, and the atmosphere has been absolutely incredible. Like, so stuff I've never really experienced. It's there's probably 38,000 I think I'm told Argentine fans out here. Same as Brazil, was about 30,000 Brazil fans, and the atmosphere at those games, at the Mexico games, when Saudi were playing, were brilliant. the probably the one thing is the lack of Europeans that I've noticed. You know, you walk around Doha and you don't see a European football shirt anywhere. You see Argentina football shirts, Brazil football shirts. You don't see a European. The England games, the atmosphere at times have been a little bit flat, but I'd say in general the atmosphere has actually been has been really good. Just yeah, maybe at times the sort of all European games haven't been as good.
Yeah, Andy, what do you think the reason is for why there's a lack of European fans out there compared to South American?
It's a good question. We've tried to answer that. We've tried to answer that. I've tried to ask fans, and I spoke. But the South American fans would just say, "Well, it's normal. We wherever we go, thousands of fans are here, and even if they're not from South America, all the neutrals are wearing Brazil or Argentina shirts. Apparently, everyone in Doha wanted Argentina or Brazil to win the World Cup. When the moment it was announced it was coming here, they don't want Qatar to win it. They wanted Brazil or Argentina. They want to see the superstars. Obviously, there was a lot of trepidation about coming out. There are a lot of human rights issues that obviously people don't feel right about, and perhaps people haven't come out because of that. But also, it's a lot of money to come here. It's a weird time of year with Christmas coming up for a lot of fans, and yeah, it just hasn't maybe attracted the attention of the European fans as some do.
So what have been your personal thoughts on your experience out there? Because there was a lot of fear, as you said, kind of surrounding the tournament in the lead up to it. How have you found it?
Yeah, well, I think on a practical basis, it's worked far better than I could have imagined. When the day I got here 3 days before the tournament started, and we were just wondering how is this going to work? 8 grounds within an hour of each other, all in one city. How are people going to get around them? If this happened in London, the underground would just collapse. It just wouldn't. The system just wouldn't be able to hold it. But it stood up incredibly well. I haven't queued to get to a game. The metro's been full. I mean, there have been some interesting experiences with Argentines and Brazil fans on the way to games and on the way back from games. But it's just a constant conveyor belt. The metro's been brilliant. The traffic's been fine. That's held up well. The people here have been incredibly friendly, incredibly helpful. Yeah, I mean, the World Cup as a World Cup has worked very well. I've been very pleasantly surprised by how well it has worked.
Yeah, and we'll move back on to the actual football side of things now, and we know that Qatar has produced a very good World Cup in terms of the football. But we saw Japan yesterday, probably not deserved to go out in the way they did, but not practicing penalties, and they paid the price for it. Does that possibility fear you in the quarterfinals against France for England?
Maybe. I mean, those penalties were dreadful, weren't they? They were. They were horrific. I think we'll do well if we get to penalties. I'd probably take that. I'd probably take that now. A penalty shootout against France. We might lose, but I don't think we're as bad. I think that sort of penalty hoodoo's kind of gone after the past couple of tournaments. So that wouldn't worry me. Wouldn't worry me too much. Although it would mean it'd be a 2:00 finish probably in the stadium. So in 2:00 a.m. So I could probably do with that. It not going to penalties.
Would you want Saka and Rashford to take one?
Yeah. I'd have no problem with that. I think they seem confident lads. Yeah, I think they'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and just moving on from that, just in terms of the whole tournament, which side has kind of entertained you the most?
I would have said Argentina until I went to Brazil last night, and I have to say Brazil. That first half was something special. It was everything you expect when you hear the word Brazil, wasn't it? Like carnival dancing, like colour in the crowd, flicks and tricks, showboating. Yeah, I mean it's Brazil. It's Brazil.
And there's been a bit of criticism come the Brazil's players' ways and the manager for the way they reacted and celebrated to their goals with their samba dancing. What do you think of that?
That's nonsense, isn't it? I mean, they're just celebrating the goals as you know, as they do. I don't see that being disrespectful at all. They're just enjoying themselves. Football's a show. It's the World Cup. It's biggest event in, biggest sporting event in the world away from the Olympics. And why can't they celebrate and enjoy themselves? Yeah, I don't see that being disrespectful at all.
On the flip side of that, in terms of Brazil impressing you the most, who has shocked you the least? Who are you most disappointed by so far?
Probably, I wouldn't say surprised, but Croatia haven't been great. They've managed to get through, but you look at what the likely quarterfinals are, and it's going to be probably one of the strongest quarterfinals the World Cup's ever seen if Spain and Portugal get through as well. But I kind of look at Croatia and I think it's a shame Japan didn't get through. They impressed me. They impressed me a lot more than Croatia did. But I guess it's just that experience and nous that got them there.
Yeah, and just one quick thing before we wrap it up. Could I push for a score prediction for England-France on Saturday?
Yeah, no problems. I'm going France 2-1.
France 2-1. Oh, controversial, but it's probably the most honest answer. So thank you for that anyway. Thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Later today, Spain face Morocco in the round of 16, and we are now going to our second guest of the day with Spanish fans Antonio and Rafa. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Given Morocco have been the surprise team of the tournament so far, how optimistic are you that Spain can actually progress through to the quarterfinals?
Oh, I don't know. Because the Spanish team is a young one. It's a young one. There is a lot of new players without not too much experience, and these Moroccan players are very brave. They run a lot. They are, they are big fighters, and they are in a situation that they never have been. Last time was in the 1985 or something like that. So I think they are very, very keen to pass this situation. I don't know. I don't know what is the opinion of my son Rafa.
Well, I think that Morocco is they are very strong because they came from a difficult group. They had Croatia, Belgium, and Canada.
Canada.
And Canada. They sent off Belgium, and I think that Morocco could be a surprise this night. I'm Spanish, but I still think that.
And we saw a surprise just last week with Spain as they lost to Japan. Coming from your point of view as Spanish fans, it put you on the opposite side of the draw to the tournament favourites Brazil. Most people have picked Brazil to win the World Cup, and it also knocked out Germany, which could be a rival nation as you get further along the tournament. Were you kind of when it got to 2-1 to Japan, were you kind of happy to kind of come second and get Morocco rather than face Croatia?
Well, I think that match against Japan, I was watching with my father, and I was telling to him, okay, that's a good option. We are going with not with Brazil because I think Brazil is going to win. Like honestly, I think so, and I said him, that's a good option if we go with Morocco, and then Portugal is not really a strong Portugal right now in my opinion, not like Brazil. So I was happy. I don't know why. Just Spain lost, but I was happy. I liked it.
Yeah, if you want to win a championship, you don't have to think who is going to be the next one. You have to win all of us. This is the kind of idea we have in Real Madrid fans. It doesn't care it's going to be Manchester or later Chelsea or whatever. We have to go and winning and winning and winning. So I think this is. I mean, I don't think Spain is going to go far away. I don't know.
And we've seen Alvaro Morata score in all 3 of the games so far, but he's only actually started one of them, and even then he was subbed off early in the second half. Do you guys think he should be starting tonight or not?
Well, I don't really like Alvaro Morata.
Fair enough.
Honestly, yeah, and he's from Atlético de Madrid, so I don't like him. But there is only in Spain, like in all the team, there is only one number 9. So I don't know. I think he should play because there is not another player. But if I could choose, no Morata.
Who would you play instead?
I think is the only one we have at the moment. I don't like so much neither, but I think it's the only one we have now. You never know about Morata. Sometimes they score nice goals, like the one he scored against Japan, no, Rafa? The last goal.
Germany, I think.
It was a great goal, but the rest, he is always on the floor. He's always claiming. He's always, So I think it's the only one we have. This is the problem we have in Spain. We don't have a nice number 9. And Morata, I think, is the best for this.
And
the one I don't like is Ferran. Ferran, I don't like too much.
Is that because you're a Real Madrid fan? Because I was just gonna ask you actually, because there's 2 real good young midfielders in your side now, 2 good technicians in Pedri and Gavi. Surely you're able to kind of appreciate their quality and how they're going to kind of lead the next Spanish generation.
Rafa, what do you think about that?
I think that Pedri is a really good player. I like really much Pedri. I like him. But Gavi, I don't know why is he playing. I don't know why, because he's really he's like a little boy, and he's like a teenager, but he's playing with Spain every match in the World Cup. I don't know. I don't understand. I think a player with more experience should play in that position. So, well, I don't like Pedri and Gavi because they are from Barcelona, obviously. But then playing, I like Pedri, but Gavi, I don't understand why is he playing too much.
Yeah, and just before we wrap it up again, guys, could I just get a score prediction off both of you for the game today?
Oof.
I think it's going to be 2-2, and then penalties, and then Spain will win by penalties. How about you, Rafa?
I think it will be 2-0 to Spain. I don't know why. I just think so.
Very different opinions, but thank you for joining us, guys. We appreciate it. Best of luck for the game later today.
Thank you.
Luck.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
England. Good luck to England.
What was that?
Pardon?
Oh,
thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
We need it.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Before we go back to previewing Spain, we'll look ahead to today's fixtures, and I think we've got to mention Brazil yesterday. I mean, it had everything. Neymar was back and amongst the goals. We had centre halves linking up for Richarlison's goal, and most importantly, we had Tite dancing. So personally, for me, Richarlison scored the goal of the tournament so far, even topping his overhead kick. against Serbia in match day 1. I know you disagree with that, Ollie, so do you want to get us started on what you make of the goal and Brazil overall?
Yeah, look, I think the goal's obviously brilliant. I think you've got to take into consideration the calibre of the opponent here. We're talking about South Korea. All due respect to them, the first half they were shocking. So it was a really good goal for me. Not quite his first one, as you say, in the other game. I think that was just a real show of like individual brilliance, and this one was a bit more the whole team sort of getting involved. But yeah, for me, Richarlison played well himself, but yeah, not as good as the first one for me.
No.
I don't know what you think, Elliot, about that.
Keep your ups on the head, though. Come on, please. Keep your ups on the head.
Maybe I'm a bit biased 'cause I didn't see it in real time.
Well, I mean, I'll have it level because the overhead kick's amazing, but keep your ups on the head in the build-up to play with 2 centre halves thinking, I'm having that up there, right up there. But Brazil, I'm not having them as. I think they're the best of a bad bunch. I don't know what you think, but I don't think there's a real favourite for the tournament yet.
No, I agree, best of a bad bunch, but also they are the best for me because you know, being obviously England, like you're always fickle towards England a little bit. France, I'm not particularly convinced. I think England can beat France.
Yeah.
And then you look at the rest. I mean, for me, I've got it down in my notes. For me, Brazil have got 1 foot in the final already because you look at Argentina. I mean, they should get rid of Croatia pretty easily.
Yeah,
look at
they should
Argentina. They've only got Messi, in my opinion.
I think they're a strong defensive unit, though, Argentina.
Yeah, I think that'll be obviously a really interesting game because it's like a derby
if
in
they
that
get
sense.
there.
If they get there, of course. No, but yeah, you're on about Richarlison. Just his sort of record differs. Like he's got 2 in 15 for Spurs this season. Then he's got 10 in his last 9 for Brazil. So I don't know why that is. Whether it's just a better team around him.
Playing time as well is a big factor.
Do you think it's because of the confidence that his manager shows in him?
Yeah, and I think it's probably he just enjoys playing for Brazil.
Well, he got the manager
dancing
dancing
with
too.
all the Brazilian.
He's doing the pigeon on the sidelines.
All the Brazilian players, don't you? That's the pinnacle of their career. So.
And just moving on, Japan v Croatia obviously was one of the more tighter, finely balanced games yesterday, and it actually ended up that exact same way as we thought, and it went to a penalty shootout. Croatia haven't looked as good as they did in the previous tournament.
No, but I think that's age. You know, Modric, Brozovic, and you know they're aging, but they've still got the technical ability, the quality there. I think they showed that. They've shown really good sparks. They got unlucky against Belgium not to win. But they were lucky. It's all about luck really when you get into these little pieces in tournaments.
It's also to do with experience at that point.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I mean, obviously they took, I think Modric, Perisic, and
I was
Kovacic
surprised
off, which
at
was
that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which I mean could have backfired on Dalic if that had gone wrong.
Again, it's luck, isn't it, with the penalties? Japan probably you could argue they play better than them.
Again, it's such a big occasion for Japan that I think they're in their own head a little bit.
Yeah, maybe, but I think if one thing goes a different way and then it's all changed, isn't it? It's just them tiny little moments.
The keeper was really good as well. I don't know if he guessed.
Is it poor penalties or is it really good from Lickford Fitch or however you say it?
It's tough to say, isn't it?
Poor pronunciation again.
I think it's a bit of both.
It's tough to say because we don't know if he just guessed the corner and dived in it or
They do the homework, you'd think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's unlikely to do.
Me and you could have saved it, to be honest.
Yeah, and like you don't don't have a big sample size for Yoshida's penalty, for example, so you don't really know where he's going to go.
So you would
it's
think
probably a good save.
Yeah, well, it's a good hand, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the penalties are on the floor and they're not in the corners.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think Croatia can go further than quarterfinals or not?
Realistically, no. But as I've said, I don't think Brazil are that good as people are making out. And Croatia have got Gvardiol, who's looking like to be one of the next big thing in the centre half in Europe. Lovren as well, experience. He's good on his day. His day was not so often.
Could be tough against Brazil.
He had a good
Got
run.
an assist yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great cross. I've never seen that from him. Well, actually, I have. Sorry, I lied. That ball to Origi in the far too. But it depends. If Brazil start how they start against Korea and it's early doors, I think it should be the same way the game goes. It should be easy and the game should be done in the second half. But Modric and co, Perisic, it's a strong. Still, even though they're all in the 30s, it's still a strong
Another
team.
little stat for the penalties is the team going second has won each of the last 6 penalty shootouts in the World Cup. So I don't know if that's like a mentality thing or if it's
Flip
just
of the coin.
the first team. Yeah, literally like
It's mental.
it's a mad coincidence though.
But yeah, so we'll move on to today's games now, with the first one being Spain versus Morocco. Antonio and Rafa gave us their Spanish point of view just a bit earlier. Elliot, you've made it well known that Morocco were your dark horses before the start of the tournament.
I'm sticking to that.
But they've lost every game on expected goals so far. Do you think they can ride? Is it luck? Do you think they can ride luck a bit longer?
Listen, I think if you have that comment with a Premier League team over the past 10 games, it's a big worry. But it's tournament football. It's a one-off. Every game's a one-off. Even the group stages, it's a mini league itself. I still think it's a one-off. The goals against Belgium are quality goals, and maybe actually doesn't. It's such a complicated stat, and we all love it, but we can all hate it as well. And this is why. But I think Morocco they've got such a strong spine. Saïd's only played 5 times Chelsea this season, but he's the star man. You've got Saïd at the back, a guard who's only just realistically came back from injury for West Ham. Mazraoui, Hakimi, it's such a strong spine. I don't think Spain have really got that, as Antonio and Rafa saying. They don't even like Morata that much, to be fair, they've got. So
they had some controversial opinions about their own team, I thought.
I think the Real Madrid bias came in.
Well,
just
when you think of English clubs being, sort of biased against maybe players that play for rival teams, that's like a different level.
Strong.
Yeah.
Very strong. Yeah, but I think Morata should start though, because he scored, as you said, he's asked them 3 goals. The only striker. I think Olmo, they get in nice positions, but Olmo can't finish. Yeah. And I know they scored 7 against Costa Rica, but Costa Rica are not good.
Do you think it's a tournament too early for Spain then?
I don't know, because where are you seeing the young striker coming from? It's, you know what I mean, when you see someone coming through with
Williams looks raw as well, doesn't he?
Very raw, and he keeps persisting on bringing ball there as well. At left back, he's so raw. It was a fault for one of the goals. He's got a fault again in another game. It's such a raw team. Enrique's got this so much faith, which is a lovely thing to see, and it's fine. But it's not fine when it costs you, and I think it could cost them, to be honest.
Yeah, because even the goalkeeper, Simon, he's played in the last 2 tournaments, hasn't he? And I've not been convinced by it.
I think the whole thing is with his feet, which is fine, again, but again...
He didn't even look too good with his feet again, did he?
He made the mistake in the Euros against...
Talk about De Gea.
Yeah, he just let it in off his foot.
Yeah, it was against Croatia in the Euros.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, De Gea, we all know, can't play football with his feet. It's simple as that. He's a fantastic keeper, maybe past his day a little bit now, but the fact he's not in the squad over Simon is a bit... Even Sanchez is brilliant for Brighton. Again, I think Enrique has a bias. We saw that with Thiago not getting the squad. How on earth if he didn't get in the squad is beyond me.
You mentioned Morocco's backline. Obviously, they've only conceded 1 goal in the tournament so far, which was an own goal. What do you make of Spain's backline with Enrique insisting on playing Rodri?
Bizarre to me. I don't know about you.
I don't understand it.
I don't.
Personally, we talked about it when we were watching the game, like not picking Sergio Ramos when they look so shaky in defence.
Point, Pau Torres on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, even someone like Eric Garcia, again, I'm not convinced by him.
No, not
in the
at all.
slightest,
But if the whole point is to play at the back with the ball,
you play a centre half at centre half.
Use him.
I mean, even like Busquets, he looked leggy, and he persisted with him for 90 minutes.
He's one of the best players I've ever watched, and I absolutely adore him. I think he's fantastic.
And you've got a ready-made replacement in Rodri, ready to
there
just play. One of the best in that position.
Because he's so
a bit mad. Some of the decisions he makes are a bit weird, and I think that could possibly cost Spain. For maybe not in this game, but possibly further down the line.
I think this game. I'm going all in on Morocco.
Possibly. Well, I mean, when you look at the dynamics of the game, like the links between Morocco and Spain, I think
it's interesting.
They've got 4 players playing in the league. They're going to know what they're going to come up against. I think they play like a similar way anyway, really. So it's going to be interesting. They're the last African team left in the competition.
Ghana, so 27 vibes for me.
Hopefully, they'll be really up for it. So I hope so.
We got Antonio and Rafa's predictions, but can you guys give your score predictions, please?
I'll go 1-1 and then Morocco to win it in extra time.
That's not what you put on your predictor league. I put 2-1. I'm all in. I've even got my boost on predictor league. I'm all in.
Do you think there's an issue that, because obviously you kind of just flagged up all the sort of, like they said themselves, they didn't think Gavi should be playing. You've kind of flagged up all the issues of like the managerial decisions that Luis Enrique has had to make. And undoubtedly, he's a good manager. And if you were like Manchester City and Pep Guardiola was moving on, you'd probably take Luis Enrique over Fernando Santos or Didier Deschamps.
Definitely.
But do you think there's a case of you have to be more pragmatic when it comes to tournament football?
I think, absolutely. That's the approach, I think. Or some teams have been portrayed as boring, but that's why, because France have done it and won it. So pragmatic is the way forward, but using young players so consistently when you can see they're so raw. They may be world's best in about 5 years, but they're not ready for it now.
And also tonight we've got Portugal, Switzerland. The winner faces Spain. Cristiano Ronaldo has created a few headlines, I think it's fair to say, but he just hasn't really showed up for Portugal so far this tournament. Do you think when you've seen the likes of Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, Lewandowski still performing at the bigger stage, do you think that Ronaldo's performances warrant him still starting?
Not for me. I just don't think he's on the level of the players you mentioned there. I just think he's, as you say, he's created some headlines, and it's took the shine off what could be a really good Portugal team. But I think he's slowing them down, as he did with Manchester United. It's a similar thing where Rafael Leao is a player who's obviously really, really good. But he's not getting the right game time because of Ronaldo, Felix as well. So the way they persisted with him, especially in the third group game, doesn't make sense to me.
Mental, yeah.
I just think if they're going to play him, obviously, but if they stand a chance of winning the whole thing, they have to get over that hill and just not start him in the game.
So just one last thing, because we're running out of time shortly, before we wrap up today's episode. Obviously the group stage is one of the best we've ever seen at a World Cup, because there was just so many upsets and shocks. Did that set up an inevitably dull round of 16 with you being able to nearly predict every winner?
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I think there's been nice games. Argentina, Australia was close. I think USA, Holland was close. Croatia, Japan was close, and the ones you expect. I mean, I think the bigger problem for me is the fact there was no gap between the groups and the knockouts. I think teams needed that 1 or 2 days extra rest.
Especially the lesser teams.
Yeah, because they've given everything, and now
really
they can't. They're already knackered, and they're having to do it all again. And the mentality is they're all the inferior opposition themselves, so they know that, and maybe they just think it's a big achievement enough to get that far. Yeah. So I think that's a bigger problem in terms of, because Belgium and Denmark, the teams who go out, Germany, are they even good enough? Clearly not.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so unfortunately that is it for today. Thanks to our two wonderful pundits, Ollie and Elliot.
No worries.
As well as our guests, Andy, Antonio and Rafa. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone listening along at home.
And this podcast was produced and presented by sports journalism students at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. If you liked it, you can follow us on Spotify and share it with your friends. Thanks for listening, and we will be back tomorrow at the same time to preview all the upcoming quarter-final fixtures, and including the England v France game on Saturday, just in case you had forgotten. See you then.